have some new members on the council. It's been a while since we had one of these meetings. I thought I'd take a few minutes to talk about why we're here. As everybody know, Alabama Power has poles all over the city that they carry the electricity on and that also support street lights. Now, Alabama Power periodically enters into agreements with other entities to allow these other entities to attach things to their poles. These other entities include AT&T, Comcast, Mediacom, Harbor Communication, Unity Fiber, CenturyLink, City of Mobile, C Spire, and they attach their items to the Alabama Power poles and pay, I think, what we could call lease payments to Alabama Power for the use of those poles. So when Alabama Power needs to replace a pole, it goes out there, and so you got the existing pole and a new pole goes in next to it. And then, so Alabama Power moves its lines, its power transmission lines, from the old pole to the new pole. And now the old pole's sitting there, and it's got all these items attached to it from the lessees. And there's a system called JMARS. What is it? Engines. Yeah, engines. So there's this electronic system engine. So when Alabama Power replaces the pole, they send out, I'm making, it's not, this will be directionally correct. They put a notice on engines, and then everybody that has something attached to that pole is supposed to go out there in order and take their stuff off so the pole can be pulled. The dead, what's called a stub pole, can be pulled. Now, some time ago, we had some citizens come to us and say that there were thousands of these stub poles. What was happening was Alabama Power would replace the pole, and then the people that were still, the entities that were still attached, the old pole would be diligent. I mean, not diligent. Would not be diligent in moving their stuff off the pole. So we had thousands of locations where we had a new pole and an old pole sitting next to each other. It's unsightly. So this was an issue of some interest, particularly to me and Gina and Bess. And we contacted Alabama Power, and we started getting some reports from Alabama Power as to, which I guess comes off the engine system, which told us how many poles there were out there waiting to be removed. So the first report I have that I have in my file is August 5th, 2019. And at that time, there were 1,530 stub poles in the city. And then it tells you who they're waiting on in order to pull that pole. So out of that 1,530 poles, we were waiting on AT&T for 212, Comcast 1162, Mediacom 38, Harbor Communications 3, Unity Fiber 10, CenturyLink 101, and City of Mobile 4. So we've continued to get reports from Alabama Power. And the good news is that significant progress has been made, especially back through last month. But there are still, we're still having some problems. Now, at that time, Comcast, back in 2019, on this date, Comcast, we were waiting on Comcast for 1,162 poles out of 1,530. And they've made some progress. But as of last month, this was October 3rd report, there were still 493,500. What I would say is overall to the Comcast folks is that the other entities have made significant more progress in removing their stuff from these poles than Comcast has. And so I wanted to understand why y'all can't move faster to get your stuff off of these poles. Now, interestingly, and I emailed Clinton about this morning because the October report showed 493 of these poles we're waiting on Comcast. And then the November report shows 843, 493 last month, 843 this month. Have you figured out what the?
I think that you do certain
so it looks like people are going in and adding to the old poles by this report on some of them.
Well, they're always adding, not to the old poles. They're always,
That's what it looks like
Yeah.
on this.
I think on some of these, the increase. Because it's a dynamic, it's always moving on the
Right,
number. You're never going to get it to zero.
because they're always replacing the old
Right.
poles.
I think on some of these where there's been the largest increase have been where they've, some of the tickets have been completed. And then we would go field check and they would still be, it should have been completed, I guess, whether it be AT&T, Comcast, whoever it is, there's still attachments there. So we have to go back and put that ticket back in the queue, I guess. And I know we had several of these in the past month, but I can't say that it was all, almost 350 difference there. But I know y'all said y'all were looking at a different number than what we were looking at. So we probably just need to get on the same page of making sure the reports are showing the same.
Mr. Chair,
data.
could it be possibly, obviously we annexed in a good bit of area. Do you know offhand if this includes the newly annexed or new city limits?
I do not.
Okay.
I don't know if it's including that specific amount. I mean, theoretically, it would say that we've installed 400 poles and have done engine tickets for that many poles, but that's definitely not the case.
I hadn't
over the
thought
last
about
month.
that.
Yeah, that could be because, well, that's true. It would have to be a really fast survey as well to, just in a month. Because unless I'm just reading this wrong, on a lot of these, AT&T, Comcast, Mediacom, they all have increased the number of lines or whatever they are officially called on the old poles rather than taking them down, more going up. Am I just reading this wrong?
No, well, I mean, that's that's the question.
I thought maybe it was a typo on the date.
No, I don't, it doesn't appear to be
Like maybe
that.
this is supposed to be 22.
No, that's what we're trying to get at
Okay.
is, and just picking on Comcast, why they went from 493 to 843 in 1 month.
Right.
But Unity Fiber went from 46 to 102 in 1 month.
Right.
And AT&T went from 43 to
Well,
114 in 1
Everybody
month.
went up.
Not everybody,
Oh,
but
yeah.
a lot of.
City did. Everybody did.
I mean,
Except for Harbor
CenturyLink went
Communications.
from 183 to 150.
Yeah. Okay, a couple of them went down. Yeah.
But I think, so one question for Alabama Power is why? Why did these numbers change so much?
I don't have an exact answer of why it went up by a certain amount. I think, like I said, some of these tickets are just getting put in. I know we've had, the reports or nothing's changed on that side of it, but I don't believe we've installed 400 poles over the last month either. So
Well,
I
it's
don't know why
not
that's-
the poles, is it?
Well,
Are they the poles, extra poles? Is that what it is?
if we install them,
So
Or
what
is it-
this is telling us is that as of November the 9th, we've got 1,311 stub poles in the city.
Okay, so
Okay.
more of the old poles are going up?
No, hun,
it's
no.
like new
no.
poles would go up.
There are new poles being put up
Right,
all the
right. I
time.
got that.
Let me see if I can do it. Look,
Okay.
he's gonna talk like an engineer. I have to talk like I understand it. When we put in a new pole, the same pole goes there. So as we put in a new one and change our line, that will create an engines ticket for everyone else to come out and remove their thing. So it can increase if we had to replace 20 poles, then everyone else will get 20 engine tickets that they need to move their lines over our poles. We think some of the discrepancy is also some of the companies might have completed a project, but when we went out there to evaluate to remove the pole, the lines were still on there. Now, we don't think it's a full 400 like showing. That's why when talking to Comcast, we need to go evaluate and make sure we are pulling the same report, that we have got the report correct on this one, that we sent the most updated one, and we can update that one, I'm sure, next week, before we go home for Thanksgiving. But it will be we will replace some poles on a daily basis, because right now someone is having a wreck out
If
here.
they aren't
in
taking
the
any
pole.
off, then every time they replace a pole, the numbers are going to go up. You see what I'm
The
saying?
New poles, not the old poles.
No, I'm talking about the attachments.
The attachments, yeah,
Yeah, so if the attachments aren't coming off the old poles,
right.
every time they add a new pole, it's going to cause the number of attachments to go up. You follow me?
So in some cases, AT&T may have attachments on both poles then, so were they duplicating or?
No.
All right, this is getting confusing. I'm glad y'all all understand it.
Right now, if they had, let's just say everyone is at 0. If we go replace 10 poles, everyone's gonna go up by 10 because they need to move their.
You have to separate the poles from
Yeah.
the attachments,
Right.
okay?
That's how many they need to move from the old poles to the new poles, and then we go out there and remove the old poles.
Okay, so our goal is to get the old poles down.
Right, but we can't pull the old
Right.
poles until all the attachments come
I
off.
got that. I got that.
Okay, if you could, if AT&T, if you guys could, you're going to give us a follow-up report. I would be kind of curious as to what caused the discrepancy, if it is a discrepancy. Okay. Okay. Now let's go to Comcast, and even if the number is still 493 or 500, your number is still far in excess of everybody else. And I would say, as I said at the beginning, y'all's progress, while you've made progress, has not really been as robust as the others. And what plans do you have to address this issue going forward?
Good news is we do have a plan, and we've already implemented the plan. And I think we've done probably in the last 30 days or so about 75. We checked the number this morning. There is over 400 in the city limits of Mobile is what we think is 450. Like I say, it is a kind of a dynamic number, but we have 3 dedicated crews that are going to be coming in. And our commitment today is that we're going to have, I would say, certainly the backlog that exists today caught up by March 1st of 2025, or excuse me, 2024. And so, essentially 90 days.
That'd be great.
And it just for full disclosure on what is, we have built just a tremendous amount of infrastructure in this year in 2023. We've probably done about 150 or so miles of construction. And some of that is for rural broadband expansion. Some of it is expansion. We did over 50 miles just of expansion in the city of Mobile for new subdivisions and things like that. So that's on us, not, to keep everything caught up. But it's not an excuse, but just a reality that, we just had a tremendous amount of construction going on this year. And, but we do have a plan. And again, Robert Rodriguez, he's the local construction person. He's here. He's in contact with these gentlemen from Alabama Power, on a weekly basis. So we'll get our situation fixed. That's our
Okay.
commitment to you.
Well, thank you very much. And I'll toggle it for March 1st. And if y'all have done a great job, we won't see you.
Okay. Fair enough. Again, my name's Ronnie Colvin. I think
If you could give me your card or something,
I'll
Ronnie,
make
after
sure
this meeting,
everybody
that'd be
has
great.
one. I
Thank
will.
you so much. Anybody else have any questions?
There's several poles in my district that have been broken off and they're just hanging there next to a new pole that's going up. Is that because of a situation like this that we would see that?
Probably.
Come back, come.
Or I've even seen them like lashed to
Right.
the old pole. Is that, this causes that?
We try not to do that anymore. I mean, there are certain circumstances where the bottom of the pole, a car's hit a pole and it's like a dangerous situation. So we want to get that stub out of there. So we'll cut the section off that still has the joint use piece on it. So you have Comcast until they can come transfer it to the new pole. So, I mean, that's the reason it's there. It's still got the attachment on it because we can't move other utilities attachments over to the new pole. So we still have to go through the engine process. But if it's a dangerous situation where a pole's broke lower at the pole, then we're trying to get the stubs out of there where we can. But we'd like to leave the stub there, let the transfers happen, then come back and pull the whole stub
Well,
out.
I've got two that's been there for, over a year or more. So if it's, I'd like to see those, resolved at
Right.
Azalea and Highway 90. On the new Rich's Car Wash that's going up. And then on Halls Mill Road in front of the old IMS school, which is now called Covenant Academy.
Are those, when that happens, because I sent you a picture of one in District 5 recently. So when those poles are broken and, broken in the middle, is that because something has struck them? I mean, y'all aren't doing that intentionally.
I mean,
Oh,
a lot of
This is
the,
hurricane related.
a lot of pole, yeah, it could be weather related, but it could be where we've upgraded our wire size or something. So there's a restring that may be a mile long. So you would change, not necessarily every pole, but say you change every pole within a mile. So that accumulates a lot there. You have the weather, and then of course.
No, I'm talking about the poles that are broken. Where you have a pole, an old pole that's broken and the upper half is strapped to the new pole.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I think it's just where probably a car's hit a pole or something. And so we're just trying to secure that old pole to the new pole until the transfers can happen to be able to pull
Yeah,
that out.
it's still got the line. That's what it
The
was.
transfer's the
Still
problem.
got the,
Yeah, the transfer is the problem.
Transfer's the problem.
yeah.
Yeah, if it's just our facilities, we would move everything over and you pull the pole stub. But when we have the joint use, we have to rely on the other companies to transfer over to the new pole before we can pull that stub.
And I've said this, as much as I love Alabama Power, and you guys do a great job, but I think you could be a little bit more aggressive on this issue than you are, because these people you're the one that has a contractual relationship with them. There's not much the city can do, but you guys have the contractual relationship with these folks. And so I, in my opinion, you could stay behind this a little better than you do.
So we started this in when, 19?
Yeah, I mean, the earliest one I have, we've been doing this for 4 or 5 years, something like this.
Right.
And tremendous progress has been made. And I want to get the new numbers. I want to get the revised numbers. But one of the entities I think I'll talk to is the city of Mobile.
Yeah.
which
Since our
needs to be
numbers went
doing-
up.
I mean, we want to lead the way. We don't want to be a laggard.
So the city of Mobile would have what? Street lights? That would be there. That's what they would have up there, or cameras? And what would the city of Mobile have on y'all's
They
poles?
could have their fiber optics, could be cameras, street lights, any of that stuff. But street lights are,
Fiber optics.
Y'all do the street lights though, don't you?
yeah, I mean, most of the lights are going to be us.
So what fiber optics does the city
Oh, Mr.
operate or own? I mean, I guess I don't. What role does government have on that?
I don't know.
I'd be curious to know that as well.
Aren't we currently paying to lease some poles or shared space with cameras on poles with you guys right now?
Yes.
And can I disclose those pole locations? There's some we can't disclose, but there are some that we can talk about, like the ones on 165 with the cameras and other places where we're paying to use y'all's poles. And that lease agreement was $500,000 that we just signed over a number of years. It's a brand new agreement. I know we just did that, did we not? Or
Yes.
that's Alabama. We just did that. So that's where he's talking about, where other companies actually do that too.
Okay.
And I also like to mention that I am 100% behind your effort, Councilman Daves and Councilwoman Gregory. I appreciate y'all taking this on, because it is. I didn't know about all this until y'all brought it to my attention, so I'm going to
Well,
be
now-
paying even more attention.
The
So
thing
I'm
is, now
behind
that
your
you
effort.
know about it,
Yes.
everywhere you go, you'll be seeing them.
That's right. Yeah, that's true. Once you know about it, you'll see them everywhere.
Hey, Clint, while I'm thinking about it, we get lots of questions, totally different subject here though, but we get a lot of questions from our constituents about streetlights, things like that. Can you help us, or maybe just send us something about the formula that Alabama Power uses to determine, where streetlights go and how many feet apart, that kind of thing? And if somebody wants extra streetlights, who do they go to? 'Cause
I think I got the answer to that
Oh,
question.
you have that already?
So if someone thinks they're underlit on their
Yep.
street,
And I hear that a lot.
they need to contact Jennifer White at Traffic Engineering and ask her to send her people out to do a lighting survey. And they send out there with their little lightometer. And if indeed that area does not meet standard,
A lightometer.
well, a little lightometer. If that area does not meet standard, they will contact Alabama Power and ask them to install a street light.
And if that's the case, then the city pays for that, correct? Right.
We pay.
But y'all have a certain formula anyway for where you have your street lights. I mean, I get questions all the time, and now Ziegler's come up, because we're widening Ziegler, so now they're all saying it's too dark and we need more lights out there. And then we have an entire neighborhood that has no street lights apparently. So we're having to deal with that. It's hard to believe that there is a neighborhood that has none, but
So
You know.
because you pay for the street lights, we will look where you ask us to look at. Because we won't put them up without, of course,
yeah.
permission. So if there's a neighborhood that you would like for us to look at, and you said if Jennifer just lets us know,
Thing to do is like Jennifer.
we
Send her
you want to look at streetlights
Yeah.
in this neighborhood, we can send someone out there and they do a photometric study. I don't know if they have. We
Photometric.
don't have a lightometer. I know they do a photometric study.
Y'all are more advanced. It's not a lightometer, right?
Oh
Yeah.
my God, you said
See, since they're going to
photometric.
get paid by the city, they don't want to make that they don't want to make that decision. They
Okay.
want the city to make the decision to put up a new light.
I got one other thing just on the Comcast March 1st, 2024 date. We didn't get a certain answer. You said by the backlog. Do we? What is the expectation that we should see number wise with these three crews?
That's how many it will complete.
Correct. Yeah.
I mean, we're gonna get it down to, we think it's 400 or so.
So 493. So we should assume all of those. Okay. Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Anybody else?
And thank you, Clinton, for keeping us up to date on all of this. We really appreciate it.
I was speaking, the number will change, we will install more.
Right,
poles, so they
right,
get 490.
They're never going to get to zero. They're never going to get to zero. Okay. Thanks, y'all.
2:30 down there.
Appreciate it.